So we're at Jeremy's house. I'm with my friend Jeannine Coulter from the Chasing,
Yes.
Chasing Heroin with an E podcast.
Yes.
And it's not Chasing Heroin with an E. It's Chasing Heroin, but the heroin is spelled with an E.
The heroin is spelled with an E, yes.
Have you taken any shit over the years for having a podcast with the word heroin in it and spelled with an E?
Sadly, yes. Like, you would be shocked at the number of people that don't understand. Well, one of two things. One, they think it's actually spelled that way, and they think I'm just calling it Chasing Heroin. I have taken shit for the name.
And
yes, I have.
Do you think it's limited your potential growth as a podcaster to have heroin in the name of your podcast?
I don't know.
I'm going to say no.
I don't know. Do you think so?
I'm going to say no. Because when we started, when we put drugs into the title, it was the biggest thing we ever did.
Right. No, I don't think it has. As soon as I'm able to explain it, it makes sense. I don't think it's limited, but that's why I changed everything. Like when we first met, I had everything under Chasing Heroin, like Instagram and all that stuff. And at some point I changed it to my name for that reason. Because I did think that maybe it was like on TikTok, if you search Chasing Heroin, it would say like that you're trying to search something that's unsafe or something.
That's not good.
No.
That's not good for
So I did change it at some point.
And you celebrated 10 years of recovery this year, which is awesome.
In January.
And you just did a TED Talk.
I did a TED Talk.
What was the TED Talk?
Can you believe that? It was about post-traumatic growth based on my experience.
So, like, what is post-traumatic growth?
So post-traumatic growth is the idea that after something traumatic or negative or challenging, we can actually come back better than we were prior to the traumatic event. So typically people think that they're going to come back from something traumatic worse off, like PTSD. But this is another theory that's a little bit less discussed, that you can actually come back better, that there's positive growth after something traumatic.
Right. And where did you get that from? Did you make that up?
No, I did not make that up. No. It's a theory from these two professors at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, in the 1990s. They studied a bunch of different people. It sort of like progressed over time, which is what my TED Talk was about. There's been an evolution of this idea. I mean, it's the idea that we choose how we think and we choose how we feel. And then at some point, they actually harnessed that into a study and came out with this like blueprint for actually doing that. And that's what my TED Talk was about, like how you would do that.
It's also just like the idea or the expression that addicts have superpowers based on their tenacity and survival skills and all that.
Absolutely. And that's kind of where I started. That's why I started thinking about it, because I felt like such a fucking loser after everything that had happened, you know, and I felt like I was never going to be able to do anything or get my life back. And over time, that turned out to be not true. And I actually felt better, stronger, smarter than before my addiction, you know. And that's why I started kind of looking into it.
And how does it feel to have 10 years?
Well, how does it feel to have 10 years? How do you?
I don't have 10 years yet.
2 months.
Well, but it doesn't.
By the way, I said
it doesn't feel like 10
last
years.
year, can you believe we're going to have 10 years? And you were like, don't say that. But I got 10 years.
Wow. So.
I mean, it's almost like surreal. It's surreal. It's a really long time.
Does it feel like, I mean, like I turned 51 last week. And it didn't really feel like anything.
Right.
And I imagine when I get 10 years, it's not really going to feel like anything.
So, sort of. Like, I felt like it should. I feel like now it's been, and we're lucky to be able to say this, like my 1 year, my 2 year, my 3 year, I would like sob crying when I took tokens, you know, and I just couldn't believe it. And the whole day, I was super emotional. And I don't feel that way now. It just seems surreal. I'm incredibly grateful. I can't believe that this happened. I couldn't even get 90 days.
And you had post-traumatic stress growth.
Yes, post-traumatic growth.
Post-traumatic growth. No stress.
I feel like I did. Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, I know I did.
No, I think, and I don't know what your TED Talk says, but I think that anybody that survives hardcore drug addiction or alcoholism can probably walk away with some post-traumatic growth.
Absolutely. Well, and that's
we can't call it post-traumatic stress growth.
You could.
Okay.
But that's kind of
PTG.
PTG.
It doesn't sound right.
That's what they call it.
Okay. It doesn't.
Yeah,
it
that's
doesn't
what it does sound a little bit weird, but yes, PTG
sounds like a performance-enhancing drug. PTG.
Yeah. No, but anybody can, not even just addicts, and that's actually what my TED Talk was about. There's like this 5-step process to where you can turn any experience into something that actually benefits you.
And you were a horrible drug addict.
I was a horrible drug
addict.
addict.
And you listen to a lot of Dopey.
I do.
So.
I bet I've listened to every episode.
You think so?
A lot of them.
Well, once in a while, Jeannine will help me out and preview shows for me. And she previewed the Ray the Clamor tribute show, and you didn't remember that one.
No, I didn't.
And that one,
you're right. That's true.
So you missed that one.
That's true.
So when you go over your story, and do you like the show because it reminds you of yourself?
Maybe. Maybe, because obviously everybody is relatable. I think I like the show mainly because it's funny, right? Like the stories are funny. I like the way that you interview people. That's why I like the show. I mean, I guess obviously there's relatability, but I love the show, I think, mostly for the entertainment value.
Well, good. That's good. And when you look back at your life, where do you see the great turn? Because you were
down or up?
Down.
So I was like a really good kid. I did really well in high school. I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to be like a Supreme Court justice. I had all these big ideas, and I got in early to a good school. And then my senior year of high school, my parents split up, and I like completely lost my mind. Not a little bit. I completely lost my mind. And I still graduated, but barely. And I'd gotten an early admission to this school, right? So I still went, but GW in Washington, D.C. But I just couldn't. I was so sad. I was grieving. Like when I look back, I think I had like a 2-year nervous breakdown. But I was a kid.
From the divorce?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. And I've thought about that.
Have you done any therapy?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
A lot of therapy?
Yeah, decent amount.
Did you talk about the divorce?
Yes.
What about
That's
the
like
divorce?
the primary thing I talk about when I go.
So what about the divorce was traumatic?
I think that, so my dad and I are super close, and he left, right? He left. He wasn't in the house anymore, and it just destroyed me. I didn't know how to cope with that. And they had a great marriage. They were married for 27 years. I was 17. It was a long time to go before something like that happened, right? Like it was just kind of out of nowhere. And so I think the shock value and then like missing the family, it was really contentious too. They really never spoke again until I was like trying to get clean, and they would speak a little bit.
And up until that point, had you not drank or used or anything?
Not really, no. I'd smoked weed like once.
Drink some water.
I know. I don't know. I'm worried I'm getting sick.
Are you feeling like your throat is closing?
Mm-mm.
I've had so many interviews where in the middle of the interview, my throat starts to close.
What do you do when that happens?
You just try to get through it.
No, I don't feel like my throat is closing.
Okay.
So yeah, I was really good. I had like maybe drank a tiny bit, and I smoked cigarettes, but that was the only thing that I really did. I was like president of my youth group, took 5 AP classes. I debated. I was like kind of a nerdy good kid.
I could see that.
Can you?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, that's actually good.
Absolutely.
I'm glad that there's elements of that still there.
Absolutely.
Like,
you're totally nerdy.
My senior picture, I'm wearing an Argyle print sweater vest from Abercrombie with like a pinstripe collared shirt underneath it, like very preppy.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see it.
So no, I hadn't done much. And then after that, I just kind of like took a wrecking ball to my life. And I started, I think, with grades. Like I didn't really do as much my senior year. But again, I'd gotten in early admission, thank God, or I probably wouldn't have got in. So I still went. And even then, I still wasn't really like drinking that much, maybe a little bit here and there. And I just couldn't make it work that semester. And so I left and went to UGA, went like back home to Georgia, which felt like a huge...
So what were you using a lot in school? Or you just like what were you doing to fuck it up?
I would leave every day at lunch. I would leave like last period. I started dating my manager, who was 22 years old, my boss at the restaurant that I worked at. I was like 17. Just stuff that a lot of kids do that I hadn't done yet, you know? And so it was a while before it was actually drugs.
You dove into the deep end like out of nowhere.
Yes, totally out of nowhere.
And
but
what
were
you going to say?
But it was a while before it was drugs. I'm not interrupting.
No, what was it before it was drugs? I interrupted you.
Like that stuff. Leaving school, not doing as well. And then it wasn't drugs until like 21 or 22. Actually, it was eating stuff first.
What was that like?
So when I went back to Georgia, I can say now, because I was actually thinking about this when I was driving up here, I tried to change the outside. And of course, I can say that now, looking back. I didn't realize that that's what I was doing. But I just tried to change like everything about myself from the outside. I don't know if it was like a control thing or whatever. But when I went back to Georgia, I started working out all the time. I'd go to the gym like twice a day. And then eating stuff just got really bad. Like,
and that's when you got crazy into fitness stuff?
Sort of.
It was the beginning?
It was the
beginning. Because you could
beginning.
take control?
I guess.
And it was before you were like, I can take control by using drugs?
Yes. Yeah. It started with that and like binge eating.
It's funny because you had a chance to like go in a really good direction.
I know.
Because like you got into fitness and you got into exercise.
Yeah, I know.
So what were some of the bad things that happened at the same time?
So I decided that I didn't want to finish school and that I'd wanted to move to LA instead.
To be an actor.
To be an actress,
right.
Yes. Which that wasn't totally out of nowhere. I had done like some acting when I was little. So it wasn't totally out of nowhere, but and again, this is in retrospect looking back, I just didn't want to finish school. And like this is the kind of stuff I think I had to take responsibility for later. It wasn't just their divorce. I had all of these hallmarks already. Like I didn't want to do the hard work. You know, I thought I could just get away with doing less and still being successful. And so I didn't want to go to school. So I dropped out and took a year to bartend and save money and moved to LA. And that's when I did coke for the first time.
And did you love it?
I loved it.
And you were in
yes.
a bar in Alabama?
Athens.
In Georgia?
In Georgia,
Athens,
yeah.
Georgia.
Mm-hmm. And it was like one of the best jobs I've ever had in my life. It's called the Bird Dog Tavern. It was the most redneck bar ever.
Well, Athens is so great.
Athens is awesome, yes. And I did coke for the first time. And it was like life-changing. And I remember feeling so, like all of the sadness was just gone.
Because I always thought Athens as a very progressive city.
It is.
But then there's still a redneck bar in this progressive city because Georgia is a very redneck state.
Georgia, well.
It is. Shout out to all the Georgians, especially Professor Sarah Buckdowd.
Yeah, there are definitely
Are you familiar
elements.
with Professor Sarah Buckdowd?
You interviewed her, right?
No, I've never interviewed her, but she's a
Why do I know that name,
she's
though?
just a
Somehow I know
she's
that
classic dope. She's as dopey as it gets.
Why do I know her name? Have you talked about her?
I've given her the occasional shout out. She once sent me a long sleeve T-shirt from the Allman Brothers Museum because she's so fucking Georgia.
Okay.
She just celebrated 10 years herself.
Oh, okay.
So big up Professor Buckdowd.
But yeah, no, it's very.
You're not going to congratulate Professor
Congratulations.
Buckdowd? All right, keep going.
But yeah, it's definitely very redneck. It's progressive. You're right, because the university is there, but there's still a lot of elements of like deep South.
It's very gay. It's very rock and roll,
Yeah.
and it's very intellectual.
My brother actually, God, I wonder if he'll get mad at me for saying this. I don't think he will. You know the Georgia Theater? It's like a famous theater. The B-52s played there.
I don't. But
REM played there. My brother accidentally burned it down. I don't think I've ever told this story.
How did he burn it down?
So he was in a band, and they played a show. And that night, they think they left an amp on or something. And that night, the Georgia Theater burned to the ground. And so, like, the last picture of the Georgia Theater is my brother's band's name.
What was it called?
Rockin' Wood. All one word. All one word, no G.
Right.
And flames just, like, engulfing the Georgia Theater. But it's like an institution of music, and that's definitely what Athens is known for. So there's some progressive elements. But it's very redneck also.
So what was your descent into cocaine use all about?
So it was kind of slow. Like that whole year, I don't think I ever even bought it. I just would do it with the other people at the bar, and I would always feel bad, and it felt problematic immediately. Like I would do it till it was gone. You know, if everybody else was going to sleep, I wanted to get more, but I still wasn't buying it. It was really, really progressive. So I maybe did it like once a week. Like, yeah, maybe
and
once
people
a
were
week.
just giving it to you.
Yes, yeah, they were. That was like a Southern thing. I remember I tried to give one of my friends money for it once, and he was like, "Put your money away, sweetheart. We got it."
Right.
So yes, they would buy the coke.
And how long did you stay in Georgia?
So I was in Athens for 2 years maybe, and then the second year I was just bartending to save money to move, which I then did.
And you were never having like crippling coke habit in Georgia?
No, I still worked that whole time. Like I was. Yeah, it didn't get bad for me until significantly later. It was like really, really progressive, even through LA. But no, it wasn't that bad when I was there.
And what happened in Los Angeles?
So I moved to LA, and I found somebody like pretty quickly that also did coke, also that I lived with. And I was thinking about that also.
Random roommate or friend?
Random roommate.
Man or
roommate of
woman?
a friend. Man. A roommate of a friend of mine. I
Romantic?
moved into their house. No. But I would do all the coke that he had.
I'm sure
and
he
so,
loved that.
yeah. And so it got really, really bad over about a 6-month period. Really, really, really bad. And then I stopped. And this is a period of time I would always point to as like, I'm not really an addict, because I stopped for 3 years. So I lived with those people did a ton of coke and then moved out because I knew I needed to get out of that house. And I did. I was able to move out. And yeah, I stopped for 3 years. But I was smoking weed every day, drinking every day. But for years, I would say, well, I'm not really a drug addict. Because I quit once for 3 years.
How much coke did you do in that period of time?
Weekly, you mean? Or like amounts?
Just in general.
Still not even that much. Maybe 2 nights a week.
Right. So it wasn't a major thing.
No,
and what made you stop doing it?
Because even though, like, as much as I loved coke, my body does not respond well to it. Like, I have a horrible, and I didn't know, I wish I had known you could like eat Xanax afterwards, or I didn't know. And so I would just try to lay down, and I'm like, God, but it's actually probably a good thing I didn't know, because I would have kept going.
Listen, you wound up homeless on heroin
That's
anyway.
true.
So what's the difference?
That's true. I guess that's true.
So you quit. I mean, maybe you would have been.
But it was bad enough. That's what I said. But it was bad enough that I would like, I'd go into work feeling like shit. I wasn't progressing at all with acting. I fucked up a couple of chances. Like, my uncle was in television production, and he connected me with this like huge casting agent. And I was up the night before all night doing coke, and I looked like shit when I went. And so that kind of, it was like early on in my addiction where I could make that sort of distinction, like in the early days, sometimes you can do that. But again, I still was smoking weed every single day, drinking, and I'd found meth, which I did for a little while. And that's actually how I stopped doing the coke. Like, I did meth at the end of that 6 months and thought, well, this is way better. And I did respond well to that. Like, I could actually sleep on meth.
Why? How could you sleep on? That's
I don't know. I know. Isn't that weird?
It is weird.
Well, you always say it's all brain chemistry, and I think it is. Like, meth, I was much calmer on. It would last me for like 2 days.
It's weird, though. I don't think I've ever met anybody that said that. I don't think so.
Yeah, no, I really liked meth. It worked
no.
much
I've
better
met people
for me.
that loved it. I just don't think I ever met anybody that could sleep.
Yeah, no, I totally could.
That's interesting.
It was also, though, I think it was like different meth. It was 2002, and the stuff that I found, it was like pink. I think I've told you this before, because there's like the pink stuff out now, and sometimes I wonder if it's that, but I don't think so.
There's so many different schools of thought with the pink.
Right.
The pink that I used to read about was pharmaceutical grade cocaine that doctors would prescribe. That was this is what I've read, so I don't know. I'm not an expert. I'm kind of an expert.
Kind of an expert.
Kind of an expert, but not really an expert. Like, that they manufactured this pink cocaine, and I just figured that was what was pink. And then Jason Biggs came on and said he was getting that stuff, and then
no, I think that's what it is. That's what I thought too.
No, but then, and people are going to talk about this. Then there's this, I think people are saying that there's this drug 2C that's pink.
Oh, that's what I thought it was. I thought it was the pink cocaine. Is that something different?
2C?
Yeah.
No, it's a research chemical.
Oh.
But
okay.
I learn these things and forget them as soon as I learn.
Yeah.
So we can circle back on that.
I learned them when you learned them, when I listened to a guest that told you.
Pink meth I've never heard of, though. So, I mean, people, Dopey Nation, what do you suspect Jeannine's pink meth was? Send it an email.
It's LA through Armenian gangs in 2002.
All right. Send in an email or a voicemail, dopeypodcast@gmail.com. So then you're like, fuck it, this isn't working for me.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I need to stop doing this.
Yes.
And why?
I mean, for all the things I just said, I wasn't progressing at all with like acting. I was blowing all my money. The come downs were awful. I just, I didn't like it. I hated being beholden to that guy.
And you were young.
And I was really young. I was 22. Yeah, I was 22.
Around then, I quit heroin. Like, I was doing a bunch, or maybe I was a little older, but it was around that kind of age period. I was doing heroin, and then my friends left town, and I stopped doing it. And I was like, and I just smoked weed.
Right.
And I was like, I can just not do it.
Right.
So it's interesting.
Did you have to kick that time? Do you remember?
No, not like real kicking.
Right.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that weird how it takes so long before you're actually strung out?
I think it's when you're actually strung out, you've made a decision that you're going to be strung out, and using at that level is way different than the first 6 months of using.
Right.
And when I used for the first 6 months, I wasn't using every day.
Yeah, that's true.
So like I might have felt a little something.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like full. I mean, full on is full on.
Right. Yeah. I feel like we all have the exact same experience though, heroin addicts. Like, you start, maybe you hear people talk about being strung out and you think that would never happen. And then sure enough, like, you get sick eventually. I didn't really know what that meant though until I was dope sick.
There's a lot of romance to the whole thing. There's a lot of romance to actually getting high. Then there's romance. I mean, I was such a fan of the movies.
Right.
That like, I mean, and I didn't even realize how affected I was by the movies.
Yeah.
Like, and we should make this about your experience because people are criticizing me for talking about myself.
No, that was two people said that on that Facebook thread.
I just want to be clear about this. I'm sure you have your own relationship with movies like that.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I remember the first time I saw Pulp Fiction, I was like, I don't like this movie. I don't like how it makes me feel. It's not cool.
Yeah.
But there was, when they register the heroin in the needle, I was very much like, that's very interesting looking.
Yeah, I didn't feel that way because
What
I
did
was
you
kind of a
feel?
nerd. The one movie that I felt that way about, though, was Casino. I wanted to be like
Sharon Stone.
Yes, I wanted to be like Ginger.
But
But
she's,
only the
that's
part
really
that
weird
stops. Why?
because she's such a wretch. She winds up a whore and,
But I thought-
loses everything.
But that was like the life lesson I had to learn. I thought that you could stop.
And I
at,
want to
like,
change that word to a sex worker who loses everything, manipulated by the James Woods character,
Right.
a sad shell of a human she becomes.
But I thought you could stop at like the fur coat,
Sure.
that level. I didn't
Some
realize.
people, I bet you do.
Some
stop.
people do. I didn't realize that for me, the dying in the motel hallway is the necessary end for me also, you know? And I wanted to just stop it at the fur coat. But that's the only movie where I really felt like, oh, that looks interesting to me.
Train Spotting.
No, see, that looked horrible to me.
See, Train Spotting, it's just such the romance of the film itself. Like the look of it, the music of it, the young energy, the writing. You didn't have any attraction to it.
I actually don't even remember the last time I've seen that movie. It's been a long time. But no, I did not like it when I saw it at all.
The sickness in the movie, it was
I just
very
remember him
real.
diving into the toilet.
Yeah, that was unpleasant.
That's the only thing I remember.
You should watch the
But
movie.
I was really, I mean, I saw it before I'd even done coke, I think.
It's
Like,
a really good movie.
Is
You know
it?
what I should do is I should read the book because the book is supposed to be really good. But I suggest watching the movie.
Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
you leave Los Angeles.
Yes.
Because why? You give up? You're like, fuck it, I'm not doing this.
No. Well, sort of. I kind of had to. So I stayed for another like 8 years or whatever after that. And the last 3 years that I was there, I started doing coke again. It like came back up. And then that was when it was real. And then it did like completely fall off a cliff at that point.
See, I think your timeline is very interesting.
I know it's weird.
You
kind
start in your late teens,
Mm-hmm.
fucking around. Your parents get divorced. And then you fuck around with coke a bit. You like it. You're like, I like this. And then 8 years go by.
Yeah, I don't do heroin until I'm 30, which is so dumb. I started doing heroin at 30 years old.
How does that happen?
So the coke in
And
LA.
please
like,
hold the mic closer.
Okay, the coke in LA like ramped
Do you want to
up.
wear the headphones?
And do you want me to wear the headphones?
Well, you'd hear where the mic is. You'd know like you're talking close to it or not.
Do you want me to?
Only if you want to.
I don't care.
Okay, so keep talking.
Just tell me if I need to move it closer.
Okay.
So coke ramped up again to the point where I did have to leave. Like I lost a car, was going to lose all my jobs, but I managed to get certified to teach fitness during that time too. So like all of the coke years were still, and I would always say this later, they were way more manageable than like the heroin years, you know, but it got bad enough that I had to leave. So I moved down to San Diego. My mom lived down there.
Wait, please explain that a little bit more. What do you
Which?
mean it got bad enough that you had to leave, but it was manageable?
So like I had a car until the very end. I had a job the whole time. I
were
wasn't homeless.
functioning.
Yes, I wasn't homeless.
Do you remember any sort of like, oh fuck, this might not be working out the way I wanted to?
Yeah, I mean there was a lot of that. The actual incident that like made me leave. So like I said, my dad and I are super close, and everybody wanted me to leave LA. I didn't want to leave LA. I didn't want to quit acting, even though I wasn't acting. But I
You didn't want to give up the dream.
I didn't want to give up the dream, and I was kind of embarrassed, you know, like I don't know, just you know how it is. Like I hadn't done anything I said I was going to do, and so it was one of the nights when it was like really, really bad, and I'd been up all night, and the next day I worked at this little boutique on Abbot Kinney in Venice, and on the way to work, and I'd run out of coke. And on the way to work, I stopped at the liquor store on Abbot Kinney, and I didn't have my car by now. And I got a Red Bull and like a thing of vodka. And I went behind the liquor store. It was like 8 a.m, poured out half the Red Bull, filled up the rest with vodka, and was like drinking a vodka Red Bull on the way to work on like a Monday morning. I felt like shit. And as soon as I got there, my dad called. And I answered the phone, and he had this weird like premonition. And as soon as I answered, he said something to the effect of, he was like, I feel like you're dying. And I said, I know, me too. And he was like, okay, that's it. Like, you leave today. If your next phone call to me isn't that your mother.
How did he know, though?
He didn't know how bad it was. My mom knew, but I, was always asking them to like not tell my dad. I didn't want him to know. But he, like, it would get back to him a little bit. I think my brother told him. But he just had this weird feeling like that day, and called me and said, if your next phone call to me isn't that your mom is on her way up there with a truck to get you today, like, don't call me back.
What kind of truck?
It was my stepdad's truck.
Okay.
And she did. And I left, and I wouldn't have left without him like saying that to me. I was never going to leave.
And for a lot of people,
and I left that day.
That might have been the window into recovery.
Might have been. Was
but
not for me.
Not for you.
No.
So what happened?
Because I didn't want to stop drinking. I refused to stop
drinking.
drinking.
You love drinking.
I wouldn't
it's interesting also because I'm going to blow your anonymity. You don't go to Alcoholics Anonymous.
No, I don't.
And you love drinking.
I didn't really love drink. I mean,
You just said I love drinking.
No, I did.
Oh, I didn't.
Well, I didn't want to stop.
Okay.
I didn't want to stop.
Okay.
I couldn't imagine. My big thing was I couldn't imagine dating and not drinking. That was kind of my thing. I was like, I'm single. I want to get married. I'm not like when you go on a date, you go out for a drink. That's what you do. And that was like a huge block for me.
Right.
And even though I say I didn't drink that much, like I got a DUI. Right. I drank enough. But I didn't want to stop drinking. So I left LA that day, and it was really embarrassing. And you're right. For a lot of people, that would have been like the window into recovery. I had gone to a few meetings.
Those people didn't become homeless heroin addicts.
No, they didn't.
A podcast called Chasing Heroin.
No, they didn't. So I moved down to San Diego, and I did kind of quit doing coke, which was my goal, but I didn't stop drinking. And I got a little bit better though. Like I was teaching at a really nice resort down there. Like I got a job teaching bar. I was doing okay. And then I met this guy.
Teaching bar, the fitness course.
Yes.
Not bartending classes.
No. It's like ballet kind of.
Okay.
And I was doing okay. Like I lived in a place, again, not homeless. I wasn't ever doing coke. I was just drinking. And then I met this guy that I ended up doing heroin with. And that's how it all.
Who was the guy?
A Marine so I lived with a Marine.
Did you ever see the movie Alpha Dog?
About don't they kidnap the kid?
Yeah.
I think so. But why? What made you think of that?
There's a neo-Nazi, actually Jewish character who reminds me of this Marine that turned you on to heroin.
Well, he wasn't a Nazi, but
nor a Jew, I bet.
No.
But so what? So tell me about this Marine.
So when I met him, he had gotten out of the Marine Corps. He had gone to Afghanistan twice. He had like a traumatic brain injury and all this stuff going on with him, which I didn't realize at first. But again, looking back, it's like something I've had to take responsibility for. It was clear that he wasn't doing well. He had like 2 felony DUIs, no car, no license, he didn't have a bank account, that kind of stuff. So of course I was like,
I like him.
Perfect. Yes, exactly. This works for me right now.
Very dreamy.
Yeah. So I started seeing this dude, and we were together for a while before he started doing heroin again. So we'd been together for like a year and a half.
What did you know about his heroin addiction?
So I didn't know anything. He had mentioned to me at some point that he had had an oxy problem at some point in the past. And I remember telling him, I was like, well, that's okay. I used to be a cocaine addict. Like, I get it. I'm not an addict anymore.
Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
Had you identified as a cocaine addict in your mind?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I knew the cocaine was a problem. I went to a couple of like CA meetings in LA and would leave.
What did you think of them?
I couldn't. Well, they were mostly talking about crack. And so I looked for anything to separate myself. Because at that point, I hadn't smoked crack. Maybe I had.
Had you? When did the first time you smoked crack?
I only smoked crack once, and I hated it. I smoked it on weed, and I had a really, really bad response to it.
You sprinkled some crack on the weed?
Yeah, well, this dude
You don't
did.
like weed either, though, right?
No, no. So we ran out of coke. We ran out of, like, lines. And he said, well, I'm out of soft, but we have hard. And I was like, well, I don't know what that means. And it was crack. And then I just smoked it on, like, a bowl. And I can remember right now, it was 20 years ago, my whole body was, like, drenched in sweat. And I literally thought I was going to have a heart attack. I almost drove myself to the hospital. As a veteran drug addict, that's how freaked out I was. It was horrible.
It's so weird.
I hated it. And I never did it again.
Coke and crack, like, did nothing to me.
Yeah?
Like, I smoked crack, and it was, like, nothing.
Really?
I mean, shooting coke felt like something.
Yeah.
Shooting coke was something.
But could you sleep when you did coke? Or no, you had to would add a benzo, right? You knew to do that.
I would take everything. I mean,
right.
I rarely did any up without heroin and
Right.
benzos. And I in fact, I remember when I was young,
Yeah.
I would do coke and not know that this was coming.
Right.
And I would smoke all my pot. But I would go buy Unisom. Like, I'm a
Right.
person that needs sleep.
Me too.
Like,
I
I
just wasn't
can't-
smart about it.
I can't.
do too.
I'm a person with a neurotic, and you have a neurotic brain also.
You think?
Yeah, I think so. But
think so.
I hate my brain in bed
Yeah.
when I can't sleep. I can't live with that. Like, that's
Same. That's why I stopped doing coke. That was the worst part.
anyway. Let's
Yeah.
get back to this heroin
Yeah.
addict Marine.
So at some point he had said he'd used to do oxys, and like occasionally he would have Percocets on him. We'd go out to a bar and he would like give me a Percocet, and then after
Did you like the Percocets?
I did. I loved the Percocets on the occasions that we had them, but not to the point where I would ever seek it out. You know, at that point we would just drink. It was so gross. We would drink Hawaiian punch and vodka.
See, I like
It's
that
actually
kind of a
really
drink.
good.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that. I like grain alcohol and Hawaiian punch.
Right.
If I had a drink,
You're the only other person I've ever met that also drank Hawaiian punch with.
well,
Alcohol.
I don't like alcohol. I like
Right.
sugar. I like fruit punch.
Right.
And grain alcohol and fruit punch would taste like fruit punch.
Yeah, it was really good.
So he's feeding you some Percocets.
Occasionally, yeah.
And I'm sure like he's fighting off the urge to use heroin.
He must have been, when I look back on that, and this is something that people have asked me before, like, was he already doing it? And I really don't think so. He was super healthy. He worked out all the time. Like, I don't think that he was doing anything until about the time that I realized it. So we'd been together for like 18 months. And I was actually at a funeral. I was at my grandfather's funeral in Florida. And I couldn't get in touch with him for a few days. On the way, and I was insane. I was psychotic. And I decided that I was like, I'm sure he's got like a girl at the house, and that's why he's not answering.
Why were you psychotic?
I was kind of crazy about him. We had like like the typical tragic, toxic relationship. That was like the way that it was.
Did you like fall in love with him immediately?
No, I couldn't stand him at first. He was really obnoxious.
But then
that took a while.
It became one of these codependent junkie love scenarios.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, kind of. So I couldn't get in touch with him, got back home, and like he lived kind of far away from me, and I drove out there and just like kicked in the front door, went into his room, and as soon as I really thought that there would be like a chick in there, went into the room, and he was just laying on the bed, and there was like cigarette smoke in the air, and he was obviously sick. And I remember yelling at him, like, I've been trying to get in touch with you. What the fuck? And he said, oh, you're back. Like, I don't feel good. And there were aluminum foil, like weed pipes everywhere and pizza boxes.
What's an aluminum foil weed pipe?
You know how like if you don't have an actual pipe, you can make one out of foil?
I've never
You've probably
done
never
that.
had to do this.
I've never
but
done that with weed. I've never even heard of anyone doing that.
yeah, you can like make a little.
We would make pipes out of pens. That was our big move. But anyway,
Out of
keep going.
pens?
Yeah. I'll teach you that later. But what were you?
I've never seen that. Like
Well-
into an apple or something, or just by itself?
It was an era where there were these pens that had a metal piece on the front and a metal piece on the back. And if you take the metal piece off the front and reverse it, jam it in there, you can pack weed in there and just smoke it like a one-hitter.
okay.
That's what I would do.
Okay. I think I had like the most white trash version of things that are out there. Like that's usually what I encountered, like the
So
tinfoil pipe.
It's because he was smoking heroin, though. He wasn't smoking weed.
No. He was smoking weed
Okay.
and those stupid things,
All right.
but he was already smoking heroin, which is what I was about to find out. So I sat down. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? And we, and again, because I was a little bit crazy, I was like, okay, well, I drove out here. You need to put gas in my car because I drove out here because you weren't answering the phone. So he's like, okay, and gets up. And we go to the gas station, and I remember his card got declined for like $10, and then for $5. We're on the way back to his house, and I was like, look, if you have started doing oxy again, you can tell me.
Did you think he had?
Yes, at that point I started thinking that, and I said, you can tell me. I used to be a cocaine addict and I can help you, whatever. And I will like never, this moment is seared into my brain. We get back to his house and he said, before I tell you this, I just want to let you know that I know what you're going to have to do and I'm really sorry. And I wanted to do this differently with you. I said, okay. And he said, I am doing something, but it's not oxys. I've been doing heroin. And I had the same reaction to heroin that like your mom would have. You know what I mean? Like it just scared me, it floored me, which is why it's.
But my mom never wound up becoming a heroin addict.
Well, right, but like.
So it's amazing how quickly you went from a truly
that's
shock
what I'm
reaction.
saying. No, 2 months later, I was strung out, So he tells me that, goes inside, and I remember deciding like, I have to, like, I'm going to help him, I'm going to help him. And I go inside, I'm Googling, like, how do you help somebody kicking heroin? Which, of course, now I know, there's no way to help somebody kicking heroin. And then I don't even remember exactly how
you can send them to detox.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah, okay. I'm surprised that's not the first thing that pops up.
No. Oh, no, I think it was like chicken soup. I don't even remember what it said. But also, I didn't want him to go to detox because I wanted to be able to still drink with people. Like I always dated guys that were alcoholic addicts. And I remember being like, it's so weird. Everybody I've ever dated has been like such an alcoholic. But because I was, like I didn't want him to actually go to rehab.
Well, you were young and you didn't even know.
I didn't even
know what it was.
No, I had no idea.
So you decide you're going to help him. So how do you decide to help him?
I mean, I stayed there that night. I think I went and got like Gatorade. And then again, because I don't know anything about it, the next day I got up, went to work. I was like training somebody and he went to work. And at some point during the day, I said, hey, how are you feeling? And he was like, I'm way better. Thanks. Thank you. And of course, now I know that obviously he just got well with somebody at work. He wasn't actually better.
Did you know that though?
No. No. I thought it was like Coke. Now I know that. Yeah. I thought it was like Coke where like the next day, maybe you're feeling better, And at some point I finally said, well, then let me fucking try it. And I did. And
do you remember the scenario or no?
I do. Yeah.
So what was it?
He was in his bathroom. His bathroom had like a sliding door and he hadn't locked it. And I remember walking in and he was like in the corner smoking something off foil, which I could sort of see. And that was the time when I was like, all right, well, let me just fucking try it. And of course he did like the, no, don't, I don't want you to here, And so I did. And I liked it because it was like cocaine, but I could sleep, right? Like I've heard you say this, it gives you energy at first, And I was like writing all these new like bar routines and making music for classes. I lost a bunch of weight. Like at first it was great, And then obviously within a few months I was, strung out, which I didn't know was going to happen.
And describe your descent into actual heroin addiction.
So, like, I felt like I wasn't doing it that often. And him and his group of friends would say that, like, I was going to get strung out, and they would talk about being dope sick, but it just didn't seem real. And that's kind of what I meant. Like, I feel like all heroin addicts have kind of the same story. Like, you hear that, but you can't possibly know what that means, And so I would hear them talk about it. And there was one night I wasn't going to go out to his house. I was staying at mine. And I started to feel like I was getting sick. And a mutual friend of ours who also did heroin called me and said, what are you doing? And I said, well, I was going to go out and see, whoever, but I feel like I'm getting sick. And he said, Jeannine, you're dope sick. I was like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. And he said, okay, well, why don't you come over here and smoke some? And he like lived right around the corner. And I was like, okay. So I drove over there and I even it's so sad. I brought my own straw and like he handed me the straw. And I remember where I was in his room. I had my knee like up on the edge of the bed and then I was standing there and he handed me the stuff. And I was like, oh no, I brought my own straw. I don't want to get you sick. And I remember he just looked at me like so sad. And I smoked and immediately felt better.
Well, the funny thing though is if you had the flu or something and you smoked heroin, you'd feel better.
I guess that's true.
Yeah, heroin will make you feel better no matter what.
I guess that's actually a really good point.
No matter what's wrong with you.
I wish I would have just thought that.
Right.
But I knew, but I knew. And I remember I was like, did I just accidentally get strung out on heroin? And he was like, Jeannine, we told you. And I was like, no, you guys did not tell me. This was not made clear to me. What do I do? And he said, well, you could kick. And I was like, well, how long does that take? He said 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But I was working, and I said, well, I don't have that amount of time. And he said, well, I can introduce you to the guy. Isn't
it that place the funniest place? First of all, you saying, how could I get addicted to heroin?
Accident.
But you're 30. You've lived in the world for 30
right.
years. You're a drug user.
Right.
You know that people who do heroin normally become addicted to it and heroin addicts. And it's like,
when you put it like that, it sounds really dumb. But I didn't know that many. I mean, I knew them.
I'm just saying, because I'm not.
No, you're right, of course.
I'm not throwing you under the bus as being an idiot, although maybe a little bit. But what I'm saying is, I think that's probably a very common experience because you think it's not going to happen to you.
Right. Well, I thought I was smarter than them. And that's like been one of the things that I've had to reckon with my whole life. I've always thought that I was smarter than whatever the very obvious circumstance was.
I don't know that I thought I was smarter. I think
you did.
In the beginning, I thought I did what everybody does, and I did it like 2 days, day a week, 2 days a week, 3 days a week. And I remember when I started using it every day, I was making a lot of money for me, and I thought I could manage it.
Did you know you were going to that you would get dope sick? Did you know that was a thing?
Yeah. Well, I as soon as I decided I was going to do it every day, I knew that I was going to do it every day.
But did you know you'd get sick if you didn't?
I knew theoretically I would.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I knew that
Yeah.
I knew that heroin was addictive. And
right, but like I didn't know. I really didn't know what dope sick was.
I
I thought it
think-
was like coke.
I don't think anyone knows what it. I mean, I knew what it was because of those movies I was
Right,
telling
that's
you
what I was
about.
going to ask you if it was because of movies or other addicts that you knew, but you
no,
knew from movies.
movies, and books about
Yeah.
musicians and books about junkies, and I knew about it. It's so funny because you can read something, but it's like that doesn't mean you know it.
No.
You know it for someone else. Does it make you feel like you're smarter than it, or does it make it just? It's totally alien. It's like you need to experience it to know. So you felt it, and then, but the first time, you haven't had consequences. You have a job.
Right.
You've enjoyed the feeling, and you're
Right.
like, fuck it, I'm going to do it every day.
Yeah, basically. And I started really small. I would buy like $20 a day, and I was homeless within 10 months.
Really?
Yeah.
So what was the trajectory?
So what would happen is, because I could still teach, right, for the most part, but you know how it is. Like if I can't get in touch with someone and I'm sick and I can't go to class.
Your drug addiction is very interesting.
Why?
It's just very not
how?
like, well, you had 8 years
Uh-huh.
between your coke and your heroin. Then you smoke a little heroin, and then in 10 months you're homeless, and then you're sober and another like 15 months. Basically.
Well, no. I used for like 4 years.
In my math,
I
though,
don't get sober till I'm 35.
I thought you were much younger than you are.
Fuck you.
I had you younger in my head.
Cut all that out.
No, why? That's funny. All right. So
Yeah, no, I didn't stop till I was 35. I used for a long time.
So
I was homeless for years.
Okay, so how do you get homeless in the first place?
So just like that, like I wouldn't make it to a class because I was sick, and then that would happen enough times that I would get fired. So I got fired from I had some personal training clients, and like I wouldn't make it, and they just stopped renewing packages with me. And then I wouldn't make it to classes, and eventually I got fired, and I was living with actually the guy that ends up picking me up at the doghouse years later. So he was also a Marine. That's how I met the guy that I was using with. And he had come back from a tour.
You had a very definitive type.
No, I just met this one group. This was the same dude that kept coming back, and I would live with him like every time. So he came back and realized after we had moved in together that I had like greatly declined in the time that he'd been gone. And so he kicked me out after a few months. I couldn't pay rent within a couple of months. And so he kicked me out, and like the week that he was kicking me out, my ex got my car impounded.
Wait, who was your ex?
The one that I was doing heroin with.
When did that end? I'm losing timeline.
Yeah.
here.
So he and I start using together in like 2010, right? In 2011, as things are getting really bad, my old roommate moves back, and I moved in with him. And I kind of thought I thought it would like save me, you know, to move in with him, but it didn't because I kept using, and he hated my boyfriend.
So that guy, there was nothing romantic. You moved in.
No.
You're still with the boyfriend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's a whole. He wasn't ever supposed to come over to the house. They were friends, and he had introduced me to him, and he always felt really guilty about that. I think because I ended up strung out. So I moved in with him kind of towards the decline, and after a few months, I couldn't even pay rent, and so he kicked me out. But that week, the boyfriend got my car impounded, and so because like to me, if you have your car,
You
you're
have
not
freedom.
really homeless,
Right.
Well, and you just live in the car. But now I didn't even have a car.
So how did the dude kicks you out
Yeah.
because you're with the boyfriend and you're strung out?
Yes.
But is it really just because you can't pay rent?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah. Both.
And then how does the car get impounded?
This fucking idiot. So I had like a 20 bag of meth or something. And I remember this so clearly. I woke up and I had like 5 missed calls from jail. And I thought it was one of our connects that I knew had gotten arrested the night before. And I was like, God, that's weird. Would he call me? Like, I don't know him that well. And Evan, it's not his real name. That's what I call him in all my episodes. Evan was already gone.
Why Evan?
I don't know. It's just the name I picked.
Are you working on a book?
In theory.
Okay, keep going.
like how you're working on a book.
Well,
we're both at about the same stage.
But I don't have any nom de guerres for
well, I've just had to
Right,
because
right.
there's so many. You know what I mean? I reference him so often, so I
Right.
just had to.
Right.
So and he was gone, and like I didn't really think about that, and then all of a sudden I realized I was like, it's fucking him probably. So he'd gotten up early, no driver's license, right? Took my car, I think, to go trade my meth. He took my meth to go trade it, I think, for heroin, and he got pulled over on the way and got arrested for possession of my meth, and they impounded the car. So I woke up, he's gone, he's in jail, my car's gone, and I have like 3 days to get out of that house.
And you can't beg to stay.
No. We had stolen a couple of things from him too. He was really mad.
So where did you go?
I had a meth connect that was living in like this cell phone store that had gone out of business. He was like squatting in there. I went and stayed with him.
So it's like the descent is pretty rapid.
Yes.
You know, you go from pretty manageable to living in a abandoned cell phone store, and everything goes from almost like middle class, whatever,
Right.
using to total fucking bottom of the barrel.
Yes.
Depravity situation.
And it stays that
How
way
many
for
abandoned?
years.
And this is San Diego.
Yes.
How many abandoned cell phone stores are being inhabited by crackhead, meth head junkies in San Diego?
Who knows?
A lot.
Who knows? I don't know.
Is that a thing?
No.
Is
not that
every
I-
other cell
no.
phone store just a fucking house?
No. I don't know how he even picked that place. Well,
Right.
I do know he was a tweaker, and he had broken in there to like, you know, fuck with some of the stuff that was left around or whatever.
Right.
So that's why he was there. So
How is it decorated? Were there curtains?
no,
and
there was
stuff?
cinder blocks everywhere.
Was there anywhere to sleep? Were there mattresses?
Yeah, there was like a couch. So we used the cinder blocks to create like partitions
How
because there was
many
a bunch
people
of
live
people
there?
living there. So there was the Connect. He had this crazy girlfriend that lived there. She would literally be like hanging from rafters off the ceiling, like a cartoon version of a tweaker. That was like actually how she would act.
Oh, hold up, Jeannine. You're a very put together person.
Currently,
What were you like then?
I don't know. I mean,
there's no pictures from that era.
no, which I really wish I had
Well,
some.
especially because of your influencer status. Every influencer needs then pictures.
Dude, and I don't have any.
Yeah, I
It's
don't
so
have
I
any.
can't
I
get
don't
my
have any either.
mugshots. I have 5 amazing mugshots.
How do you know they're so good?
Because I remember taking them. Well, the first one was really good. The first one's for a DUI.
You should be able to get your mugshot.
No, okay. I can't. I've literally written. My mom recently asked somebody that works with the sheriff.
You're like, you know, it's good for my daughter's career. She has a
I
podcast
wanted
called
for the,
Chasing
I
Heroin.
wanted it for the TED Talk, and my mom told them that,
Right.
and they said no. For whatever reason, in San Diego County, they refused to release them, even though they're mine.
All right,
It's
so,
really annoying.
So how I mean, like, it's hard to imagine somebody
Right.
as put together as you is living in an abandoned cell phone store, addicted to heroin and meth.
yeah,
So,
I mean,
so what was happening?
So I tried to, at first I still had one job left. I was still teaching bar, and bar is a very like upscale, it's like Pilates. So I was still teaching bar at this upscale place, and Evan had stolen a bike, and my goal was to ride my bike to the bar studio and continue teaching from this cell phone store that we were living in. But that didn't pan out. I think I went once and then not again. I also missed, somebody had taken a restraining order out against me, and there was a court date at that time, and this like changed my life because I lost, and I get this restraining order against me for 3 years, which like alters.
Wait, what was that for?
I got in a fight with this girl. I got in a fight with Evan's female roommate, and she took out a restraining order on
You
me.
got into a fist fight with her.
Yeah.
Did you get into a lot of fist fights?
No, I got into 2. One with her, and then one with another like junkie chick a few years later.
Twick could be a good word for a tweaker woman.
That was
A
like
twick.
tweaker chick, yeah.
A twick.
So 2.
That word doesn't exist though. Twick.
No.
All right. So how long
2.
did you live in that fucking store?
Like 3 months, not that long, 3 months. So he had taken out his 401k. He had like put in the paperwork to take out a 401k. And he had like
To use it.
$6,000. Yeah. And our plan was we were going to get an apartment. We were going to get my car back because it was impounded. Because he got out of jail a few days later. So we're like waiting on this money, you know, hustling during the day, whatever we can to try to stay well.
Hustling how?
So I would, and I didn't know anything. This is when I started learning like all the different little like junky hustles. The first thing I started with was stealing, just like the receipt thing. You steal something from Walmart, return it, get the gift card, and then either sell it for half or trade it to, you know, a Connect or whatever. And that's when I started doing little shit like that. And then he got,
Can you still do that?
I doubt it. But I don't know. I think it would be much harder now to have any sort of hustles that you could get away with. It seems.
Well, people have hustles though.
They still do, I'm sure. Dude, Jimmy's was a crazy. I'd never heard of that before.
Remind me.
He would walk out with something or walk out with like a ton of small things that were kind of expensive, return them for the gift card, find cash receipts, go in and buy the item with the gift card, and then return it for the cash receipt.
Right. That's a good scam.
But you have to be a tweaker to do that because we don't have that kind of time. I only have like an hour or two. He would be out there for 12 hours.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I had to just get my $20 and get out of there, you know?
I had like no scams like that at all.
I know. I don't, but you didn't have to.
Well, no. I mean,
you didn't have to.
I didn't have to. And I mean, it could be said that if I did have to.
What do you think you would have done?
I would have gotten sober, I think.
You think?
Yeah.
You don't think you would have returned stuff to Walmart?
I would have done that, sure. I mean,
but maybe not for very long.
I mean, I would get busted like shoplifting.
Yeah.
Like I would.
But that's just because you like to steal. That wasn't because you needed it for money. Right? Maybe sometimes it was.
No, I would steal for food. Well, for luxury food items. But I never stole because I had to. I would steal from my family.
Right.
And my girlfriend.
Right. So were you supposed to be doing, I've actually wanted to ask you this before. You would take her car and her wallet, or take her wallet.
Yes.
And then come back. Did she never notice?
No, she knew.
What would she say that day if she saw you took out $60? Would she say anything?
No, she wouldn't say anything. And I wouldn't take out.
Really?
On the regular, I wouldn't take out $60 because I was in the methadone clinic. I would take out 20.
Okay.
I would take out 20 and I'd buy like 4 balloons or something.
Okay.
Or sometimes even less, but I was on methadone.
See, I would kind of do that.
Or I
too
would
with
take
my
out
mom.
40 and I would buy like a couple bags and I'd buy a bunch of Xanax.
Yeah.
And take my methadone.
And she never said, "Did you take my card this morning?"
She knew. I took it every day.
That's crazy.
But and also though, like she was a stoner, so we always had weed.
Yeah.
And like that's how we lived. And I don't know, like it's easy for me to make the joke that if I had to steal, I would have gotten sober. If I had been homeless, I would have gotten sober. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah.
But let's get to your story. Your story is more relevant.
So anyways, that's when I started doing things like that. And then he got his money. So we got like $6,000 after we'd been living in that cell phone store for a little bit. And we went and got my car out of impound. And I have no idea how this happened, but we got that $6,000 on like a Friday maybe. And he had control of it. I didn't have any control over it. We got my car out of impound, and that was expensive. That was like $2,000 because it had been there for a long time. He got a haircut, put 4 new tires on the Jeep. 4 or 5 days later, it was gone.
You used it.
I guess, yeah.
It's a lot of using.
And we got a week in a hotel actually. So and that was $350. But that was $350.
So $350.
So and within a week it was all gone.
Right.
And so then we were homeless again.
You were doing coke or meth?
Just heroin at that point. We would do meth
that
if we
seems
could.
Crazy to do that much heroin.
I know
and you
that.
smoked it all?
Yeah, we were smoking
that
back
doesn't
then.
help.
We hadn't even started shooting
that
it yet.
doesn't
Yeah.
help.
We would do meth if we could. I always preferred to do both. I hated doing heroin by itself, but mainly heroin.
You hated doing heroin by itself?
I did, yeah. I would much rather have both.
Well, okay. Meth and heroin.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where you call it smoking goofballs?
No,
that wasn't the thing.
I hate calling it. I hate the word goofball.
You just
I
hate
just
the
say
word-
speedball, even if it's a goofball. I only ever did meth and heroin together, but I just hate the word goofball.
Yeah,
it sounds so
not,
dumb.
It's not. It's
like speedball is like Robert Downey Jr.
And goofball's more like you.
So I don't ever say goofball.
I understand.
I just say
that.
speedball. It sounds dumb, right?
Yeah.
Don't you think?
I think I speedballed once and goofballed 10 times or 20 times.
Right. That was my main thing. By the end, I shot goofballs. I hate saying it.
You don't have to say it.
Every day for years.
I don't.
That was my
I never
main
say it
thing.
either. But when I would say it, people would say, that's a goofball, right?
Yeah, it's annoying. People say that to me too.
Anyway,
yeah.
You go through all that fucking money very fast, and then what?
So, because we're supposed
That's
to
a horrible plan. We're going to move into a hotel and buy a bunch of drugs.
That wasn't the plan. The plan was we're going to put down a deposit on an apartment and get our life together. That was the plan.
That's a better plan.
Yes.
But
and
that didn't happen.
somehow a week later, all of that money is gone.
Mm-hmm.
I have a restraining order against me. We've already gotten the cops called to this one hotel for getting a fight in the middle of the parking lot. I've overdosed in the Angelo's men's room and woke up.
What's Angelo's?
It's like a fast food restaurant in Oceanside.
Shout out to Angelo's.
Yeah. Dude, I posted a story about overdosing in that bathroom once, and someone tagged them in it. And it was a clip I'd done with Nate, and it did really well. And someone tagged them, and I didn't see it, and they saw it. And someone from Angelo's was like, hey, glad to hear you're doing better. And I felt so bad. I was like, I know, but I'm like, oh, it's not a reflection on your restaurant. Like, why would somebody have tagged them in this?
Well, I mean, it made them feel good.
I guess
it's always nice when there's a success
when a heroin addict
story.
didn't die in your bathroom.
Yeah, and now they're promoting you as a good place to get high in.
Yeah,
and
that's what I'm saying. I'm like, why would you guys have tagged?
It's not bad.
So, anyways, after a week, all that money's gone, and we don't have an apartment, obviously, and now we're just in my car. And so after, I don't know, like a week of that or so, I couldn't live that way anymore. I desperately wanted to stop using. You know, because I was kind of put together. Like, I couldn't believe that this is what had happened.
Put together yet homeless and addicted to heroin. Mm-hmm. So describe that moment.
Which moment? Like
the moment of like when you become undone, basically.
So, I mean, it was the whole time. I hated it. Like, even when I was still living somewhere, I hated being strung out on heroin. I hated, like, from that day when I realized that I had to start buying it every single day, I hated it. Like, I did not romanticize heroin like you did. I hated it. I thought it was disgusting. I was losing everything. I had to bring dope with me to my brother's wedding in North Carolina.
It must have been a love-hate thing, though.
I mean, it had to have been, right? Like, because also I kept getting addicted to it, right? Like, initially I thought, as long as I can get off heroin, I'll be fine. But then for years, I continued to get strung out again.
So you loved how it made you feel, but you hate how it made you undone.
I hated being chained to it.
Right.
You know, I hated that. But yes, I kept returning to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that realization was really important for my recovery later. Like, obviously you don't hate heroin. You keep accidentally getting strung out on it, you know, every time you get clean.
Like you keep accidentally seeking out alcoholic drug addict.
Yeah. So, my dad, I think somebody told my dad what was going on. So while I was at that cell phone store, my mom, because also like my mom's looking for me and I'm lying to everyone saying that, I forget where I said we were staying, because she knew I had left the apartment. But, you know, I said that we were living somewhere, and she found me at the cell phone store.
Your mom did?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's actually a crazy story. So she just was like beside herself, didn't know where I was, left work in San Diego. Oceanside is like an hour away, and got on the freeway. And this is kind of a crazy story, and started praying, like, I want to find my daughter, and just got this feeling to drive north on the 405 or on the 5, and got a feeling to exit Mission, got a feeling to exit left, a feeling to exit left, and then it all just kind of stopped. And she pulled over and started crying, and she was like, what did I think? I was going to just like find her in some weird way. And that second she looked up, the cell phone store was right there, and she knew my meth connect. She recognized him, and he walked out of the...
How did she know him?
So she knew him because she'd been at the house once when he'd come over there. So she didn't realize it was my meth connect, but she recognized him. She knows now, but she recognized him from had seen him at my house before. And she saw him come out of this like abandoned building and realized I was in there. And so she walked up to the doors, and it was like a mirror tent because it was a business. It was like a strip mall. And she walked up, and I remember Evan was like, dude, your mom is here. And I looked out, and my poor little mom is wearing like a church dress and her glasses, standing outside of this crack house door, and knocks on the window. And there were two people in there that had just like robbed a house. There's a gun out, cash. They're smoking crack. And I'm in our little like cinder block partition area. And
what were you doing, crocheting a sweater?
I was actually sick as shit. I had just gotten well like 5 minutes before she got there. And she came, the guy let her in, and she literally walked through this crack house, and she put her hands up, and she was like, okay, I don't care what anybody is doing. I hope everybody's having a good day. I'm just here for my daughter, as she like beelined back to our little area. And she sat down with me, and, you know, I started crying. And that was when I told her that I did want to go somewhere, but I wanted it to be somewhere, because of course I had terms as a homeless person. I wanted it to be somewhere with Suboxone or Subutex. So I explained to her like what that was.
Had you taken Suboxone at that point?
Yeah, I had, but not I had taken it once too early and actually got really sick, but I knew about it. I knew that like I wanted a medicated detox. I knew that, you know? So however long later, we run through all that money, and she called my dad. And again, when my, you know, if my dad gets involved, like I do whatever. And he actually called me and he was like, what's going on with you? And I was like, nothing, man. Because I would always try to lie and say that I was like working. I was just between jobs. And he said, your mother's telling me you're strung out on heroin. Is that right? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, okay, that's unacceptable. What are we going to do? And I was like, okay.
Had he had any experience with anybody being really addicted to anything?
No.
Okay.
No. But my dad is very, both of my parents are very, very, they're smart, they're worldly.
Capable.
Yeah, they're very
like they
capable.
see a problem, they're like, let's just deal with this problem. We're not going to get freaked
totally.
out that it's so crazy.
Yeah. I mean, they were upset, but they're also from this like little part of Miami called Hialeah that's like, you know, they've seen a lot growing up, right? So like they didn't have personal experience with that, but they kind of knew what to do.
And they weren't together, but they kind of came together.
Sort of, just
deal with
for
you.
this, yeah. So they found me a detox and I went. They did a Suboxone, but it wasn't a taper. They prescribed me Suboxone at the end. And I went to my first treatment center after the week and got to rehab, and they asked me for my medications and I showed them the Suboxone, and the guy said, well, you can't take that here. And I decided to just bring it in with me anyways. And that's actually what got me kicked out of that first rehab like 4 months later. So I just kept taking my Suboxone the whole time. But I was like doing steps and I had a sponsor, but I was lying the whole time. I'd smuggled my Suboxone in. But I was taking like the right dose, but still. And then like towards the end of that period, they started testing for Suboxone. They weren't when I first got there. And so I got kicked out after I graduated, like when I was in the sober living.
Wait, what exactly happened?
So when I went to detox, they prescribed me Suboxone. Like, you know how they were just going to do MAT treatment forever, right? For me, it's what the guy recommended. And I didn't
get on Suboxone and stay on.
Yes, exactly. And I was like,
did
okay.
anyone ever say that when they put somebody on Suboxone, or do you think it's just implied?
I mean, he didn't say the word forever, but it wasn't like there was no conversation about a taper. No,
right.
No. Like I left with this prescription and went to rehab, and it was a bitch to fill because like I'm in residential treatment and I only had a few, and so I had to. They would do a store run every day.
Doesn't sound like a good treatment.
What do you mean? Why?
Well, you're in treatment.
Yeah.
And they give you a tiny little amount of Suboxone?
No. That's all I had on me.
Okay.
Because I had smuggled some in.
Okay.
And my rehab did not know that I had that.
Okay.
So I had to keep refilling it, right? So like we would go on a store run every day.
What did the rehab think?
They didn't know until later. That's what I'm saying. They told me I couldn't bring it. And I was like, okay. And then I just smuggled it in anyways. So they didn't know.
So their plan was for you to kick Suboxone, and your plan was to be on Suboxone.
Yes.
And you didn't tell them your plan.
No.
Then they found out you're on Suboxone,
Yes.
and then they kicked you out.
Yes.
I'm sorry I missed that.
After like 5 months, I graduated, was in sober living, and then they found out. But I had to like, it was so, every day we would go on a little store run, and I would have to, with somebody watching you, like with one of the house managers, and I would go to the back and like drop off a prescription and run away, and then go back the next day and try to get it like really fast. I don't even know how I managed to do this, but I managed to get my Suboxone, you know. But I was still like on a couple of passes. I drank, I smoked meth. Like
you weren't really after sobriety.
No,
you were
I
just
wasn't.
trying to get it together and still keep your vices.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to be strung out on heroin. I really thought that the heroin was the issue. And the only problem was that I'd gotten addicted to something you have to do every day. And like, I'm not really a drug addict because I used to do cocaine and I quit. And there was like that story that I just kept telling myself.
You hung your coat on that story for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. So I get kicked out of that sober living, and that's when the next couple of years I'm just like totally homeless. I get arrested 4 times.
Hold on. What? So how do you wind up totally homeless?
So now I don't have a car at all. That car that we had gotten out of impound broke down, and it was sitting in the driveway of my mom's house.
But you failed the rehab.
No, I actually graduated, but I was on Suboxone the whole time.
And you didn't tell anybody.
No.
So you get out. Where do you go?
I went to their sober living at first, and then somehow.
Were you using in their sober living?
Yes.
Okay.
I was. Yes, I was. So I also wasn't. It's not like I was taking my Suboxone as prescribed. I mean, I was, but I was also using. You know what I mean? It wasn't
Sure.
like I was an actual like mat treatment person who was
Right.
getting better, you
Right.
know?
Mm-hmm.
So I get kicked out of that sober living. I actually went into another sober living because I would live in sober livings while still using and just try to get away with it. That was like my main thing. And eventually I figured out how to get away with it. And I could pass.
What was your method?
I don't want to tell you
Why?
because I don't want someone to hear it and do it.
No, you have to tell.
Or you think it's fine?
I think it's good to
I
give.
told
It's
one
good to give
person
drug
this.
addicts tools.
I told one person this and she continued using for like 3 years, but she's doing great now. So it's really easy to figure.
I mean, like, there's a lot of shit on this show that could be seen at. I mean, the Walmart thing could keep somebody
That's
on
true.
drugs for years.
That's true.
All the people in the Pacific Northwest who are driving around picking up poppy pods and making
That's
tea.
true.
Do you think theoretically, is our show doing damage
No.
with stuff like this?
No.
Are you
no.
sure?
Yes.
So
I'm
then why
positive.
why don't you tell his story?
Because this I don't know. Fuck it. I'll just tell you. Because I told one person. This is
Hold
why
on,
I think
hold on.
that. Because I
If you're-
told
if-
one person,
Yeah.
and she kept using for a few years.
I'm not saying that it isn't that. I'm
Right.
saying it might be. So, Dopey Nation, if you feel like we give too much tips on how to stay on drugs, please send an email or a voicemail to dopeypodcast@gmail.com. And Jeannine is going to tell how she
Beat drug tests.
Beat drug tests, but is not suggesting that any of you guys do it.
Yes.
And
Okay.
she's suggesting you stay sober and have a nice life.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So get a 5-hour energy bottle. And what a lot of people don't know is any liquid will pop a drug test. It doesn't have to be pee. It just has to be something that looks like pee. So it could be like those Arizona teas is what I would use. Anything that looks like pee will make it go and show the lines. So you don't have to have, people think you have to have clean pee. You don't.
Well, for every drug test,
Yes.
you could use iced tea?
Yes.
Is this true?
Yes.
All right, Dopey
Yeah.
Nation, any clinicians out there who think Jeannine's story is
No,
bullshit,
it's totally true.
please
It's
send an email.
liquid.
All right.
Now the only,
So why not water?
You could use water, but it doesn't look like pee. It has to look like pee.
So you're big.
I would use like apple juice or iced tea or something. It has to look like pee.
This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
It worked for me for
Okay.
like 3 fucking years.
Okay. So where do you live, though? You lived in the sober living.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
why do they kick you out?
So eventually I would get caught somehow. So like it was a while before I learned that trick, right? So I'm in the sober living that kicks me out. I go to another one, they kick me out. And then that's when I was just homeless and in and out of jail and programs for a while. So that's when I start getting arrested I got arrested for domestic violence. I got arrested for.
Hold on. You can't just gloss over that one.
Okay.
What'd you do?
So same guy, that guy, Evan.
Fake name Evan. Was his real name Devin?
No.
Kevin?
It doesn't rhyme.
Bevan? No word that rhymes with that.
No.
Okay.
No.
Oh.
So we were walking
Levon?
from.
No.
No. We were walking from one sober living to another. And there are a lot, like, and you probably know this, there are a bunch of sober livings that aren't as, like, if they're not as nice as other ones, a lot of people are using. And so that was kind of like the types of sober livings that I was in. We were in Lake County programs. A lot of people were still using, whatever. So we're at one sober living. It was actually the day after Christmas. And we were walking back to mine. And it was, I don't know, like 11 o'clock in the morning. And my dad had sent me a Walmart gift card for like $100. And I had my methadone card and my bus pass all in his wallet in his backpack. And so we're walking to my sober living. And he's also wearing a jacket that he had stolen from that sober living, which matters. As we were leaving, there was a jacket on the back of the couch and he just threw it on. Mm-hmm. So we're walking back to mine. And we somehow got in an argument and I wanted my methadone card, my bus card, and my Walmart gift card. And so we're like screaming at each other, walking down the street. Mm. This is also one of the McFlurry arrests. I got one. There's a McDonald's right there. So we're screaming at each other and he wouldn't give me my stuff back. And I'm flipping the fuck out and he's walking in front of me and I'm like hitting him with his backpack. And then we get a little bit closer to a Walgreens, which matters because there's a camera there, right? Which I, of course, was not thinking about. And I took his hat off and I'm like hitting him with his hat. And of course, the cops show up and he had started to kind of like walk away from me. And one of them gets out of the car, runs after him, tackles him. And as he's falling, all of these firecrackers fall out of the jacket. And to this day, I don't know whose jacket that was or why it was full of firecrackers, but he got charged with firecrackers because of that jacket he had taken. Is that weird?
Keep going. So
Okay.
what happened?
So he gets tackled. They separate both of us.
They separate because you're beating him up.
Well, they didn't know that yet. I was like crying and screaming and being ridiculous.
So and there were cops.
Yes. Oh yeah, cops. Yeah. And I thought he was going to jail. I just assumed he would go to jail because he had dope on him and I didn't have anything on me. So they go into the Walgreens and they watch the camera.
And they see you hitting him.
Yes. Yes.
And they charge you with domestic violence. Did you hit him hard?
No.
No.
No, not at all.
That's crazy. So why do you think they did that?
I mean, because I was technically hitting him.
Right.
You know, and I already had a record. I'd been arrested by then.
What kind of firecrackers?
They were like round ones.
But you had to light them on fire.
Yes.
Right,
Oh,
okay.
yeah. They didn't start going off. Oh, that'd be even a better story. But no, but it was so weird.
So wait, where does the McFlurry come in?
I had already gotten one. And then we were walking through the Walgreens parking lot. So I was holding it. That was the last one. And I set it down next to me.
It's amazing because Jeannine had gotten arrested for drinking whilst consuming 3 McFlurries.
3 times.
And this was the final one.
This was the final one. This is when I realized.
It's ridiculous that you kept going back for another McFlurry.
Well, I didn't put it together. So the first one was a few years before this. This is before I was doing heroin. It was a DUI. And I had gone through a McDonald's drive-thru. And I was eating a McFlurry, get pulled over. And I remember because the next day when I went back and got my car, it was like melted
What
everywhere.
do you put in the McFlurry?
M&Ms. It
Just
was an
M&Ms.
M&M McFlurry every time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the second time?
The second time, I got arrested for a violation of that DUI. So drive-through at McDonald's. I'd just gotten one.
Drunk.
No, but now I was strung out on heroin. And I was doing a crossword puzzle from like Star Magazine or something. He was driving. He doesn't have a license.
Same guy. Evan.
Same guy.
Fake Evan.
Overhead light is on.
Uh-huh.
I'm not going to say his real name because
Okay.
I'm just like, I don't want to deal with it. Overhead light
Does
is on.
he listen to your show?
I don't know.
Does he know about your whole world?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Is he alive? Do you know?
He is alive.
Okay.
He's for sure alive, and he's not on heroin anymore.
That's good.
Yeah, he's
I think
definitely
it's
not
probably
on heroin
for the best
anymore.
to name him whatever you want. But keep,
No, it is. I don't want to fucking deal with this. So the dome light's on, and my feet are up, barefoot, doing this crossword puzzle, and we get pulled over. And I think for sure he's going to jail because again, he's got heroin on him in a cigarette pack. But I go to jail because there was a warrant out for my arrest because I didn't finish my MAD class or pay the fines for the DUI. So I got arrested. Second McFlurry. Go to pick up the car from impound. It's melted everywhere. And that time I was like, that's weird.
Right. And the third time, have you had a McFlurry since?
No.
Really?
No,
Do they
of course
still
not.
sell McFlurries?
Yeah.
Do you consider getting them every once in a
No,
while?
absolutely not. I would never.
All right.
And then the third one was like a year later. And that time I'm sitting in the parking lot and it's next to me. And that time I was like, what the like that was the time that it hit
the
me.
telltale
Yes.
McFlurry.
And I was like, all right, I'm never eating another one.
So this is like...
So that's the DV. You asked about
Yeah.
the domestic violence.
And this is like the beginning of this long homeless run.
Yeah, this is like in that time. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so what do you do? How do you do it? How do you stay on drugs and homeless? How do you get money?
All those dumb hustles.
And
so,
you stay doing that.
Yeah, I stayed doing that. A bunch of different things. Like one time, the where like perfumes are at CVS, like the nicer ones, they'll be locked. It wasn't locked, and so I would go in every day and get like 5. And there was somebody that I worked with that would buy them that I found on Craigslist.
You were still doing fitness classes.
No.
Where were you working?
I wasn't working. I was just doing dumb shit like this.
You just said there was someone that I was working. Oh, someone who's running
working
scams
with the
you.
scam.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, not in fitness. I was not teaching fitness at this point.
So and how falling apart are you?
I mean, I looked pretty bad, I think. Like, that's why I wish there were pictures. I picked my face really, really bad. And that would kind of change the hustle, too. Like, if I didn't look good enough to go into a store and steal something, I couldn't. Like, another time I'd picked my face so bad. I was staying with these guys. This was like the most afraid I'd ever been in my whole addiction. I was staying with these guys, and I had picked my face so bad, and I couldn't go get anything. They put socks over my hands and duct taped the socks so I couldn't pick my face, but it also rendered me like completely unable to defend myself if anything happened. Nothing did happen, but I was like terrified for a few days.
And
I stayed.
in that period, you're doing the meth and the dope.
Yeah.
But mostly just a mix.
A mix. Mostly heroin because I had to do that every single day. Meth was always just like
Bonus.
a treat if I could. Yes. That would be my ideal.
And where do you live most of the time?
Like that was staying at some person's house for a month or so.
Who was the person?
It was this older dude that the guys that I was afraid of had actually kind of like kidnapped him and held him in the back, and we were staying in the apartment.
What do you mean they kidnapped him?
They restrained him in the back.
And he was just there?
Yeah.
Did they hurt him?
No, he was tied up.
How long was he how does that happen?
I mean, 3 weeks at least.
Why? Why did they tie up? They didn't go to jail for that?
No,
This is, out of all the stories, this is the one that makes the least sense to me. How did they decide that they're going to do this?
So he was a heroin addict also. And so this like group, the Connect and like a couple of his friends would go over there every single day. And at one point I meet them and I start hanging out there too. And the guy whose apartment it was like got sick of them being there and asked them to leave. And instead of leaving, they just tied him up and locked him in the back bedroom.
And they feed
and wouldn't
him?
leave. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what
they would let him out to like shoot dope.
That's the weirdest. I've done this show a long time. That's the weirdest story I've ever heard.
He was like,
it doesn't make any sense.
What? He was 75. He was a lot older. And we're talking about like 4 or 5 30-year-old, very scary guys that had taken over the place. And he was literally like 75 or 80.
And he didn't call. Why wouldn't I would call the police? He couldn't.
He couldn't.
But they let him out to shoot dope and go to the bathroom and stuff?
Yes.
Was he crying and screaming, or was he just okay with it?
He was like kind of okay
he felt
with
like
it.
I have friends.
He was kind of okay with it.
These guys are kind of like
he
my
would start
friends.
complaining.
Right.
And I remember the main guy, Mike. I remember the guy's name was Robert. He's probably dead anyways. It doesn't matter.
The old man.
Yeah. I remember Robert.
His name was Evan too, ironically.
He was like complaining once, and I remember Mike threw a can at his head, and he was like, "Shut the fuck up!" And he stopped complaining. He was like, "I want you guys out of here." And he's like, "Go back in your fucking room."
But he's tied up, or he's not tied up.
He was tied up most of the time, but they would let him out. He was like, "Go back in your fucking room."
What kind of rope did they tie him up with?
It was like a cable that you'd put on a car, with the hooks.
Bungee cable.
Yes.
And they tied his arms around his back?
Like this.
It's horrible.
On a chair or something.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Are they robbing him? Did he have money?
Yeah, he had money.
Was he paying for everyone's heroin?
Not everyone's, but like a lot of it. Because he didn't have a ton of money. He was like on Social Security.
Now, when you look back at your life, and you've done a lot of bad things and questionable things and whatever, a lot of stuff, when you think of the old man, where do you file that?
I mean,
what do you like when you really take it apart? Because it's a scary story that a man was kidnapped, is the word you used, shoved in the back of his apartment with bungee cords behind his back, but he could shoot heroin and go to the bathroom. So when you go over it in your head, what do you see?
What do you mean? What do I see?
Because obviously we tell stories in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
And we and you know make
so in that particular situation, like I feel bad. He was definitely being victimized, but he was also a heroin addict, and to some extent he was okay with it, right? Like obviously he did want them to leave, but he could come out and go. Like if he really wanted to like bolt for the front door, maybe he could have. It was kind of a small apartment, but I don't feel like great about it, you know. I was just also scared. I was terrified for myself, right? Like that's one of the only times in my whole addiction where I was like really genuinely scared, you know.
What do you
but I don't
think
feel
made,
good.
What do you think made that situation more sinister than every other situation?
I don't know. I think it's because of the one guy. There was one guy that was really scary. I think maybe it was because of him. And that was the place where sometimes they put the socks over my hands, like duct taped them. So there were times when I was actually incapacitated. And one of those guys was very scary.
Well, you claimed that they put the socks over your hands to prevent you from
picking my face.
So what do they fucking care if you pick your face?
Because I couldn't go steal stuff and make money.
Because if you didn't have your pretty face, then that's...
If I had like open wounds on my face.
I feel like that period is very, very off. That of all the periods, that is the most off period.
Why?
Because the guys are so bad. They're using you to steal stuff.
Well, we all were, but yeah.
And then they've tied up an old man and stolen his money and lived in his house. And then you're terrified that they're going to kill you.
Yeah.
I mean, out of all of the scenarios, this seems like the scariest.
It was. That's what I'm saying.
Now, we're winding down to the end of a fantastic Dopey episode. But I know that you spoke at Dopey Nation Zoom. How was that in general?
It was good.
You had fun?
Yeah, it was really good.
I heard it was well attended.
Yeah.
You had a lot of nice people there.
Yes.
And someone shared with me that you told a story of smuggling meth into jail. And I feel like if we didn't get that story, we wouldn't really be getting the whole story.
Okay. I agree. So for some of the homeless period, I had an apartment for a few months. Because the dude, Evan, his fake name, which you've pointed out several times, got money from the Marine Corps. And we got a house.
I only pointed out so many times.
No, it is a little silly, but
No, because you're so comfortable calling him Evan. And
I've done it for years,
you know
as long as I've had my show.
Erin Card.
Erin does that too.
She does it too.
Yeah.
She does it too.
I haven't called him his real name in 5 years, probably. At some point when I first started the show and started talking about it, I was like, well, I have to, because at first I was just saying my ex, but I was like, all right, I have to give this person a name, but I don't want it to be the real one.
See, I would never call anyone in my past a different name.
Well, maybe you would if you were writing a book and you felt like there was some sort of legal ramification
no,
for that.
But you're not writing a book.
Right.
But you're doing a podcast.
Yeah, and I don't ever want... I also don't want to make them look bad.
Totally.
To be honest.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
He was a very damaged person.
I think you're making the right decision. It just strikes me as funny.
So, anyways.
Thank you.
We had a place for like 4 months because he got money from the Marine Corps. So we could pay rent every month because he got this money. 1 month we weren't able to, and we got an eviction notice within like 4 or 5 days. So I decided I want to try to fight the eviction notice. So we go to court. And because it's court, I don't bring anything with me. I have no drugs on me. I didn't have any warrants out. I was printing checks by then.
What do you mean printing checks?
So you can print checks if you have magnetic ink and routing number and an accounting number.
Where did you learn how to do it?
From the guy that was driving the car that we go to court with. So
was this before or after the movie Catch Me If You Can came out?
When did that movie come out?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Did you not see that movie?
I've seen it.
But not then?
We also weren't like sophisticated criminals. This was like tweaker junkie shit, you know? I mean, I guess that's a little bit
I feel like
sophisticated,
I would be shocked if this guy hadn't gotten the whole scam together from Catch Me If You Can.
I really don't think he did.
All right,
he had just paroled from like Donovan or something.
Catch Me If You Can is a fantastic movie, by the way. Did you ever see it?
Yeah, I think so. Leonardo DiCaprio, right? He's the pilot.
You're not going to believe this. I go to 7-Eleven.
Is it not recording?
It's recording.
Oh, I go to
7-Eleven to buy batteries so that I'm prepared. I figure I'm buying Duracells. They give me 7-Eleven batteries and assure me that 7-Eleven batteries are somehow better than Duracell.
Is it already dying?
It's almost dead. We're down to the last bar.
Do you need to get new batteries?
No, I'm not. No
okay,
way.
All right.
No way.
Okay.
We should though. But anyway.
Okay. Is it going to run out?
We'll be all right. No, okay, well, I'm going to change batteries.
Get batteries. So I have learned how to do it from the guy that drives us to the courthouse.
Seems like a really useful skill to have.
I mean, it was, I guess. It worked a couple of times.
You've never considered paper hanging again?
I don't know what that means.
Hanging paper, making bad checks, passing checks.
No, I would never do
hanging.
it again. I would never do it again.
So you need to see Train Spotting again, but Catch Me If You Can.
I remember it. I kind of remember it. His parents get divorced, and he's looking at them dance in the window. I remember.
It's like your life.
That's the part I remember.
That's your whole life. Your fucking parents are divorced. He's making bad checks. He just never got homeless, smoked meth, or shoved a pipe up his vagina. But let's get to that.
Okay. So I want to fight this eviction, and so we go to court. Jed calls it illegally blonde. He's like, I can picture you methed out trying to be like some Barbie lawyer, but you're like totally tweaked out. Yeah. So I go, I don't end up trying to argue.
You could have been a great lawyer.
I know. I think so too.
You could still do it if you wanted to.
Well, but I'm still using speaking skills.
That's true.
I'd rather do this than be a lawyer, you know?
Keep going, yes.
But you're right. I agree.
You have a great analytical mind.
I do, but do you mean that?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
You got to really work on your self-care. Why would I just complimented you.
I know. Okay. Didn't seem sincere for a second, but okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure.
So we go to court, and I'm maybe going to argue this, but their lawyer comes over and is like, okay, look, it's obvious like what's going on with you, and it's going to be embarrassing. You're going to lose. So I tell you what, if you just agree to leave the apartment, we won't put this eviction on your record, which by the way, they did anyways, but I agree. I'm like, okay, fine. So we're going home and we get pulled over. What I don't know is that it's a stolen car, of course. The guy driving it, who's the one that taught me how to print the checks. 3 of us are in the front seat, Evan's in the back seat, and we're smoking a meth pipe and like passing it amongst, the 4 of us. We get pulled over, and I think I'm going home because I was in court and I know I have nothing on me. So they put all of us on the side of the 78, and I guess we're not in San Diego right now, but they put all of us on the side of the freeway. We're sitting there, and after they pulled us over, the meth pipe, the guy that was driving, is like, I'm on parole. I can't have this. He knows it's a stolen car. Hands it to his girlfriend, who's on probation. She's like, I can't have this either, and she sets it between the 2 of us. And again, I think I'm going home, and I wanted. It was packed full, like we had just packed it. So it's sitting there. I can see the cop walking up, and I'm like, fuck, what are we going to do? So I grab it and just put it like inside my pant. It's on like the crease of my pants, right? Because I'm all like sucked up and skinny, and I've got this one pair of court pants. So we get out of the car, and we're sitting there, hands behind our back, and they find, I forgot I had in my wallet, I had a fake ID that I was writing the checks to, like a person that looked like me, whatever. And I had some Subutex in a cigarette cellophane in my wallet that I had also forgotten about.
Do you remember the name of the fake ID?
No,
Okay.
No, I don't. That's a good question, though. I remember, I can still picture the ID that I had making me 21, which wasn't for anything like that nefarious.
What was her name?
I think it was Jennifer Adams, which sounds made up, but it was real. Anyways, so we're sitting there. They find my ID, the fake ID, and the Subutex, and we all end up getting arrested. So I've got this meth pipe in my pants, and now we're going to jail. And it was 2 male cops. So they put the 2 guys in one cop car and us in another one. And as we're walking up, the pipe is just like sitting here. And they did like sort of like a less thorough pat down. And so they don't feel it. I get in the cop car, and it's sitting there still. And I'm like, fuck, and I'm looking at her. She's looking at me. I have no idea what I'm going to do. And so I like lift up and scoot the pipe to drop down. Like it drops down, and I kind of wiggle around so that the bowl is down, stem up. And I'm like looking at her, and I literally just like slide down onto it and bring it up.
Amazing. Did you hear that weird sound effect that happened?
Right at that exact moment.
As the meth pipe got absorbed into yourself.
So and I think I'm going to bail out too, right? Because I actually hadn't. This was my 3rd arrest, or this was my 4th arrest, and I'd always bailed out in the past. So I also think I'm probably going to bail out, but I don't. I end up going. I can't get anybody to bail me out. Whatever. My bail's $45,000 fucking dollars. Nobody's going to give me $4,000. Whatever. So I end up having to go to regular jail, and they do a strip search before you go to regular jail, and I'm in the back room. And they do the whole actual like bend over and cough thing. And so I do it once, and I kind of do it like like I barely do it. And the bailiff or whoever was like, "Come on, Coulter, do it fucking for real." And so I bend over, and I did. And I kind of thought nothing would happen, to be honest. Like I didn't, but I guess this is why they make you do it. But like I've never been in that situation before.
What it is that coughing
it's
does
your like pelvic floor muscles.
Right.
But like I don't know. I didn't even think anything would really happen. So I cough for real, and it starts to shoot out, but I had my hands there. And so like as it's shooting out, I stand up and like push it back in and turn to face her like all in like one movement.
It's like the most incompetent strip search cop in the history of.
And I was like, I'm fucking freezing. Can I put my clothes back on? And she's like, sure, yeah. So I get dressed, and then I bring it with me to jail. Like it's inside me down at Las Colinas, and I'm like kicking dope on Librium, out of my mind, kind of passing out, in and out. And then the second day, I finally get up, take a shower, remember it's there, take it out, and bury it in the trash can.
Crazy.
Yeah.
The craziest thing about that is that you didn't get to use it.
I know. I actually kind of agree with that. If I hadn't been that out of my mind on the Librium, like maybe I would have. That was the plan in the beginning. That's why I did that. I wanted it.
Totally. And you're in jail. You're sick. You're on Librium. You throw the meth in the garbage. Can you remember your thinking at all around that?
I mean, I wanted it out of me, and I wanted to not get caught with it. Like that was, I'm 2 days into kicking. I'm in jail for the 4th time. We just got evicted from our place, and I was worried about my turtles. So I had these tortoises, Russian tortoises, and I was panicking about my turtles too.
See, I remember when I would lose any kind of drugs, it would tattoo on my brain,
right, to
the point where I'm like, what the fuck happened to that?
Yeah.
And there's drugs I still think about. I'm just like, what happened to that?
Totally. No, I know what you mean.
And this meth, it's like that. I'm having that with this meth.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone ever got to use that meth.
No, I doubt it.
And
I'm sure it just got taken out with the jail trash.
And Dopey Nation, I maybe this is insensitivity. I don't know. If you have a good vagina Dopey story, please send it in.
You've asked for vagina stories before. So
I know, but that was before the last
that was before
wave,
the comment.
The last wave of my insensitivity.
It's not insensitive.
Okay, very good. So if anyone, we want to do a Dopey vagina show, in the future, and Jeannine,
I have more stories.
Jeannine might be the star of the Dopey Vagina show. So I want to know the infamous, because you're very good.
Oh, right, the doghouse.
You're very good at giving things names, and they exist in the Jeannine-verse.
Okay.
You know, the McFlurries,
Right.
The doghouse,
Okay.
Evan. So the doghouse story, it's like the way you talk about, it's like Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. It's like very, very,
It's like a thing.
It's iconic in the Jeannine-verse.
Well, it's the last incident.
I know, really, though. Really, the thing is that when you told the story on social media, it was like the first thing to go super viral, I think.
It wasn't,
But it was a big one.
but it has,
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't like that theory? You're poo-pooing my viral dog theory.
No, I think I just always think of things that, you know what I mean? Like, you do too, like the Methadonians and the
But
this
that's
and the that.
different.
You've got like chunks of
But that's
the
different. That's
couch story. You call it the couch story. You do that too. I think most people do.
Okay, so let's get the doghouse story.
You know?
I'm
But
with you.
anyways.
I'm with you.
Okay, so I'm in a sober living. I'm using and doing my method where I can get away with it, even if I'm using. But like typically what happens is obviously
Wait, your apple juice method?
Mhm.
Oh, we missed that.
Yeah, that's in.
So,
Did I say that?
so of course.
Okay, so
Another one of Jeannine's vagina tricks is how she wanted to make sure that you guys didn't know that she replaced her pee with apple juice.
making me tell you.
But that was not the crux of the
Right.
fake pee. The crux of the fake pee was her method.
Right, and this is not my method, I'm sure.
Who taught you this method?
A girl I was in treatment with,
Great.
my friend Ashley.
Was it Amy Dresner from Rehab Confidential? Passed
But, like,
down from podcast
I'm kind of
host
surprised
to podcast
I didn't
host.
think of this. If you're a woman, you should kind of just think of this. It's a bit obvious, but so put something that looks like pee in a 5-hour energy bottle or something small-ish. Put like plastic across the top with a rubber band. Make sure it's like kind of taut, and then it's inside you. And so if you have to hold like if you're holding the cup, or they try to trick you with one of the long like handle things. So what you do is don't hold it by the handle. You have to hold
What
it
handle?
down here.
What handle?
So like to avoid stuff like this, they have this contraption where it's like a long plastic stick with like a hole at the end where you can put the cup in, and they'll hold it under you.
Right.
So you just go like this so that you
Right.
can't do anything like this.
Right.
But if you see one of those coming, you just grab it by the cup part down here.
And then
And
you
it-
can just go about your
Yeah,
business.
because then they don't even really pay attention.
Because all you're really doing is
You just need to get your hand close to yourself
is so that you can burst
so that you can pop the plastic.
the top.
Yes.
And then the apple
It
juice
just comes out.
fills the cup.
Yes.
It's fantastic.
Yes.
So you're getting away with that
Yeah.
in sober living.
But like usually what happens is eventually they realize I can't actually be sober. I'm somehow faking these
and
tests
that your
because I
urine
don't
just
have a
smells
job.
absolutely delicious.
So someone actually said that once at one of the places.
you must be eating a lot of pineapples.
There was this woman, she was like, this smells like flowers or something like that. And I was like, well, actually, if you're healthy and in good shape, like your urine shouldn't smell that bad.
Mine smells amazing. Anyway, keep going.
So somebody did say that once. I'm surprised like nobody else ever thought that. But like usually they eventually figure out that I'm not actually clean, right? Because I don't have a job. I can't pay rent. I'm like riding a stolen Huffy bike everywhere. Like I'm obviously strung out. And I'm in this sober living. And on New Year's 2014, actually my first connect ever, the night that I realized I was dope sick and I was like, what the fuck? I accidentally got strung out on heroin. The guy that he introduces me to, who I start buying heroin from, him. He eventually got busted. He did like 2 years in prison, got out, and stayed sober. Is still sober to this day. He's got like 12 years. And he was clean. He'd been out for a little while, and we were out to like a Chili's or something on New Year's Eve. And my sober living house manager called me, and she was like, hey, Jeannine, so you left some heroin in the bathroom, and you can't come back. And I said, you don't know that that was my heroin. That is circumstantial evidence. 8 other women live in that house that are heroin addicts. That could be anyone's heroin. And I passed a piss test for you this morning, which was true. And she said, that's true, you did. And I don't know how you've been doing that.
But my daughter drank your pee.
Yeah.
She knew it was apple juice.
She was like, and I don't know how you've been doing that, but everyone else is here, and they're all pretty sure it's yours. And I'm pretty sure it's yours. But I tell you what, if you bring me a blood test that says that you're clean, you can come back and I'll support you. And I hadn't ever been asked for that before. And of course, to her, I was like, fine, I'll bring you one tomorrow. So I get off the phone and I tell my buddy, I'm like, oh my God, like, I can't go back. And so
what can we use for fake blood?
Right? So he gets me a room in a Motel 6. So we go to the Motel 6 and he's leaving. And I'm like, hey, before you leave, I need your phone. I need to Google what a blood test looks like. I'm just going to forge one. So I want to Google
You're a master forger.
I'm not, though.
You forged checks, you forged urine tests, and now you're like, I'll do
Well,
a
and
blood
I'd had to
test.
forge a medical document once in LA. And I'm like, I did this once. I could do it again. Give me your phone. And while I was saying all this shit, I remember he was just kind of like sitting there staring at me. And I said, don't look at me like that. What am I supposed to do? I don't want to forge a blood test. She's making me forge this document. I don't want to do this. I was going to kick. I have a Suboxone, which was true. I had one Suboxone. I was like, I have a Suboxone. I was going to kick, but I can't kick outside. Like, what am I supposed to do? And he said, I mean, you could get clean. And I don't know why. Like, obviously people had said stuff like that to me before, but for whatever reason, for some reason, when he said that, I remember like sitting down and thinking, like,
maybe I don't have to do all this ridiculous
stuff.
stuff.
I try that? Yeah. Like, I am working so hard to make this work for me. My entire life is about passing piss tests for people.
Right.
Like I went to college and my whole life is just about passing drug tests for people. And something about the way that he said it, I don't know, it just kind of like affected me. But I still had like a little dope, so I wasn't ready that second. So the next day he actually came back and I called a connect of mine and said, I can't go back to my sober living. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know where I'm going to go. And he said, well, I have a place you can stay. You can stay in the doghouse in my backyard. And I was like, really? Awesome. Okay, thank you.
Now, when we talk doghouse,
It was like a little shed.
It wasn't like the worst doghouse.
No,
but it wasn't like Snoopy's doghouse where there's tons of good stuff in there.
No, there
Christmas
was no good
ornaments
stuff in
and
there.
whatnot.
There was no good
barbecues,
stuff in there.
Whole
No,
turkeys.
No, it was like a little tiny shed
right
that his dog would sleep in on the floor. But he brought the dog inside and let me sleep in there for a few nights. And he padlocked it from the outside at night. So I was like locked in, but not to keep me kidnapped. It was to keep people out.
Was he like, listen, Jeannine, I'm going to lock you in the doghouse every night?
No, him do it.
That's insane.
I know. No one's ever asked me that before. I did not know he was going to lock it. But then the next day, he came out during the day, the next day.
When did he unlock it?
The next day.
What time?
Like 6 a.m.
Did
probably.
it wake you up, him unlocking it? Or were
I
you
was still awake.
Right. So
I was doing
you're fucking trapped in a doghouse. It's like, how are you you're like, it's actually kind of nice. He would lock me in the doghouse at night. Like, how did you cope with that?
Well, after the first...
Were you kicking in the doghouse?
No. He was bringing me heroin and meth. That's why I didn't care.
You have two stories in your story of people being held against their will, getting
One of them
drugs.
is me. But I wasn't really being held against my will. I could have left the next day and I didn't. But this is the last time I use. I mean, this is it, right?
And he was using?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And he's the one who said you could get clean.
No,
Who said that?
That is the person that is clean.
Still. And what happened to this doghouse guy?
I don't actually know. He probably still lives there. I don't know. But no, the friend that said you could get clean, he just brought me to my drug dealer's house the next day. He didn't want to leave me there, but I was like, no, give me a ride over here. And he did. And then he left.
And it was your drug dealer who said you can live in the doghouse,
Yes.
but I'm going to lock you in there at night.
Well, he didn't say that the
to
first
protect
night.
you.
Yes.
You think that's why he locked you
I
in
know.
there?
Well, the next day he said that. The next day when he came back out, he was like, oh, hey, sorry, I locked it. I don't want to say his wife's name, but he was like, she'll freak out if you're back here, blah,
She'll
blah, blah.
freak out if I have a chick in the doghouse, so I'll lock it up just in case
I guess.
to protect you from me and my wife.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Honestly, it's crazy.
So I'm doing, and I had a light, like a compact with a light on it. And so I would sit up all night and pick my face in the dark and like smoke meth and shoot heroin. And I was doing a San Diego Reader. It's like a free crossword puzzle. And that's how I spent like the last 3 days. And then the last
What
night,
time would he lock you in? Like, all right, Coulter, we're locking you at the doghouse tonight.
No, he would just say like, he would just be like, all right, good night.
Good night, sweetheart. I'm going to lock you in the doghouse.
And I remember the second night he was like, he like pointed and I was like, and I heard him go.
And so the third day,
so the
wake
last
up,
night,
yes.
the Marine that I lived with off and on called me.
Not the boyfriend.
No, the other
guy.
one.
Yeah.
Called me. And he was back from Afghanistan.
Did you have a phone?
That last time I did,
In
yes.
the
I had a
doghouse.
flip phone, yes.
So just in case you got trapped and you could call for help.
No, my mom, the last bit, gave me a phone that she would pay for so that she could find me. But it wasn't a smartphone, which is why I was asking my friend for his.
I think
so.
From
I had
now
a flip
on,
phone.
You should tell the story that your mother rescues you from the doghouse.
Via my flip phone?
Tracks the flip phone, knocks the padlock off the doghouse, and you open it. Your mom's there in her church dress. And her
that would be a beautiful story.
Yeah.
No, she just leaves me at the Burger King. She's a part of this. So the last night I'm there, my friend calls me, and he was like, hey, what are you doing? I'm back. And I said, I am
living in a doghouse. Did you tell him?
In Oceanside, and I think I'm going to die. That's what I said. And he said, all right, if I come get you, will you come with me for real? And I was like, yes, I will. I'll come with you. And there's a Burger King kind of near where I was. And he said, all right, I'm out at 29 Palms. I'm going to come get you tomorrow morning. You need to be there. And 29 Palms is far. It's like 2 hours away from where I was. And so the next day I told the guy I'd be right back. I was like, I'll be right back. And I left and obviously didn't go back. And I walked to the Burger King. And I did actually call my mom. And she came to see me. She was on her way to church. It was a Sunday morning. And I wanted like $5 or something for cigarettes. And she wouldn't give me any money. She had brought me a Cliff Bar and some vitamin C tablets. And I was so annoyed. I was like, I don't want this shit. I want like $5.
And then what happened?
And then he came and got me.
And then where'd he take you?
To 29 Palms, to his house. And I kicked for the last time. And that was that.
And you kicked at his house.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
then you
kicked
didn't
cold
go to
turkey
treatment.
at his house. And I did not go to treatment. And that was January 15th, 2015.
And you went straight to Heroin Anonymous?
No, because Heroin Anonymous is a bit further away from where I was. I went to NA primarily.
And do you want to vouch for Heroin Anonymous, or are you violating some traditions?
No, I don't care. No, HA is by far my favorite fellowship. But NA is really like where I started doing everything.
Why do you like HA more than NA?
Well, I don't necessarily like it more. In the area that I'm in, it's more like, it's a little bit more relatable, I feel like. It's like somewhere in between NA and AA. NA is a little bit too dressed up for me.
Dressed up how?
Like actually kind of dressed, like a little bit more buttoned up, I feel like.
How do you mean?
Like attitude wise.
I haven't found that at all.
Really?
Where I live, NA, well, I find that in urban places, NA, I've never found NA to be more buttoned up.
No, AA, I'm saying.
Oh, AA is very buttoned up.
Yeah,
but
that's
not,
what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm
sure.
saying. So AA is like a little bit more on the buttoned up side. NA, and actually NA was fine. I just I liked being able to talk about like methadone and Suboxone and
But you're 10
kicking
years clean now.
Yes.
So
yeah.
like why do you like that still?
Well, now it's probably just habit. That's the one that I go to. That's like where all of my, like
friends are.
Yeah. So but I didn't start going there until I had like 7 or 8 months. I got a car finally, and they were those meetings were like a little bit further away. So to start, I just went to NA. But yeah, I didn't go to treatment. I just went to a sober living, and that was it. And I never used again.
What do you think about the stigma of sober influencers?
Is there a stigma with sober influencers?
You talk about it all the time. You think that there's a stigma against?
I think there's a stigma against
female,
women influencers in general.
So what do you think that's about?
I don't know. I think it's, I don't know. I don't know why somebody would attach such a negative connotation to it, because like my friends, for example, that you've had on the show, right? Like if people hate that you had another influencer on, and they do, but their stories, like Rachel's story is really gnarly. So is Brittany Jade's.
So is Abby's.
If they were just like teachers, or if they worked for DoorDash,
right.
or if then it would be received in a completely different way.
It's
like,
standard.
Why? Yeah, they still have like these wild stories. And I think what I see is that people will say that they're just coming on the show like for clout because they're influencers. And maybe because I know them, I'm like, no, they're not. They don't even hardly do any shows. But why are you attaching that only to them, but not someone that is like a writer or a teacher? It's just like this different weird attachment, but the stories and the substances of their characters and their stories and their recovery are the same.
Would you say it's a misogynist double standard?
I think so.
All right. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we go?
No.
Did you have a good time?
Yes. Did you?
That was great. I had a great time. Check out Jeannine Coulter's amazing podcast, Chasing Heroin with an E. Follow her at Jeannine Coulter here and there. And thank you for coming on.
Thanks, man.
Right on.